Okay, it's 11:01. We can start. Firstly, okay, a couple of you are already here. Good morning, everyone. Manan is back. Hello, Manan. Hi, Muskan. Good morning. Okay, Garvit is here. Good morning, Garvit. Okay, cool. So, firstly, before starting off, I just wanted to wish you all a very happy Children's Day. Yeah. So, yeah, so have fun, guys, today. Yeah, that's why I said Manan is here. Uh, cool. So I'm hoping others will join in the meantime. I'll just do a quick round of intros. Okay, so we've already discussed like two parts of chapter 6, which is titled as Bhakti-Sufi traditions, right? So we'll be dealing with part 3 today. And just to give a brief intro about myself, my name is Nikitha, as most of you all know, and I'm the history educator here at Unacademy Scholars channel. And I take classes for both standard 11th and 12th. And as far as my educational qualifications are concerned, I have recently graduated from Ashoka University with a bachelor's degree. I have a major in history and a minor in pol science. That's a little bit about me. Thanks for asking, Manan. I'm doing great. I'm hoping you're doing well too. No, Manan, it's not in DU, but it's in Delhi NCR. To be very specific, it's in Sonipat. It's called Ashoka University, not a part of DU. It's a private university, Manan. Okay, Navjeet is here. Hi, Navjeet. Okay, we'll just talk a little bit about Unacademy's plus features. So you can actually learn live by sitting at by sitting at the comfort of your own houses. And these courses are taught by top educators of India. All of them are available on one single platform. There are regular doubt clearing sessions, answer writing sessions, practice tests, live test series. Study materials are provided, mentorship is given, guidance is given, along with exhaustive coverage of syllabus. So that's like a wholesome experience. And when it comes to pricing for plus, the prices actually you can see on the left side of the screen. These ones are the actual prices for 6 months to almost running till 2 years. But if you use the code, which is TUM10, sorry, yeah, TUM10, you'll be basically given a 10% off, and these are the post discounted prices you see on the right. So make your choice, have a look at them clearly. Quickly talking about Unacademy's iconic, there's a personal mentorship given to you. There are live doubt solving sessions, weekly reports, parent connect, and also study planners. These are like even better when compared to plus features. And when it comes to iconic, we have 9 different ranges of subscriptions, starting from almost 3 months to 48 months, right? The same thing here, these are the actual prices. You can use the code and avail a 10% off, and these are the post discounted prices, right? So make your choice wisely. And there's also something called as Bucks Bounty, which is Unacademy's special feature. It's basically an opportunity for you learners out there to report any sort of inappropriate content in the video. You can be the first one to report this and claim a prize for that. And you can use this form, which is in the description below, to report this sort of inappropriate content. And lastly, there's something called as Emerge. As most of you all by already now know, that Emerge is a test conducted by Unacademy every week. The test is basically aligned with the latest CBSE guidelines, so that's helpful for you to crack your term 1 boards. And the link for that is in the description below of this video. Check it out, enroll yourselves and take part in the quizzes, which are highly beneficial, right? Okay, so that being said, we'll just have a quick look at the chat box and then dive straight into the topic for today. Okay, Navjeet says, please cover source boxes of Bhakti-Sufi tradition. Navjeet, is it fine if I do the source boxes specially on one day, right, for this chapter 6 itself? I think it will take like 2 more sessions to finish this chapter. So after that 2 sessions, probably we'll have one exclusive session dedicated to source boxes and other different kinds of boxes from this chapter. Is that fine, Navjeet? Okay, Disha is here. Hi, Disha. I'm doing great, thank you. How are you, Disha? Okay, just let me know, Navjeet, if that works for you. Then we'll plan a session to that accordingly. Okay, so we'll dive into the topic straight because we have so much to cover. We'll start off. So the last time we've talked about the basic introduction to Islamic world, right? How there are so many Muslim rulers ruling the Indian subcontinent, but most of their subjects or citizens were not Muslims. There was some kind of conflict because of that. So from there we'll take off and we'll discuss about the popular practice of Islam, right? So like what is Islam and like what are the provisions of Islam, what are the features of Islam, right? So when in the 7th century and especially in the 12th century, when Islam was penetrating into the Indian subcontinent, it's not just the elite level people who were getting affected, it's not just the upper class people, right? But to be very honest, Islam is penetrating deep into the society to almost like the grassroot level, right? For example, peasants, artisans, merchants, all of these are like lower class people, right? So they basically lived in the rural areas, not in the urban side. Even they were getting affected because of Islam, because mostly conversions were happening. People started believing in the Muslim world or like Allah, right? So because of these conversions they were getting affected. And like once you become a Muslim, right, like in public, if you accept yourself that you're a Muslim, that means in principle you have to follow 5 pillars of faith, right? Like there are 5 certain things which you definitely should do in order to call yourself a Muslim, right? Again, most of us know what these 5 pillars are, because if you're a Muslim yourself, you'll know that, or if you have Muslim friends, you might have heard sometime, right? So there are 5. The first one is, first and foremost, you need to accept that there is only one God, right? You shouldn't believe in this polytheism. You should be like, there's only one God and that's Allah. That's the sole point. And added to that, you also have to believe that Prophet Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, right? So don't get confused. Prophet Muhammad is not the God. Yeah, Allah is different, Prophet Muhammad is different. The relationship between them is that Prophet Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, right? And in Arabic terms, you call this faith as Shahada, right? And then the second principle is offering prayers 5 times a day, which is very common, which is called as namaz. Yeah, it also has another word called as salat, right? And then the third one is giving alms. Alms is nothing but helping, right? Helping the poor. That's called as zakat. The fourth is fasting during the month of Ramzan. The whole month of Ramzan, they basically have these timings where they're not supposed to eat. That's called as Saum. And lastly, there's something called as performing the pilgrimage to Mecca, which is a very holy place for Muslims. Yeah, that's called as Hajj in Arabic. So these 5 are basically considered the pillars of faith, and you definitely need to do them in order to call yourself a Muslim, right? So yeah, Hina is here. Hi Hina. I'm doing good, Hina. How are you? Okay, Shahada means to bear witness. Literally, yeah, like if you translate it into the literal English terms of the word Shahada itself, you're absolutely right, Wajahat. It means to bear witness literally, right? So you got it right there. Uh, okay, so that being said, when to visit pilgrimage? That's a good question, Hina. Again, there's no particular time as to when you should visit Hajj or do the pilgrimage, but there is one conventional notion among Muslims that they usually visit it once in a year, right? Like annually. Again, it can be whenever you want, right? But mostly people go during the time of festivals. Yeah, but there's no rule as such, but once in a year is recommended. Yeah. Okay, so if there are no questions, then I'll quickly move on to the next slide. Yeah, Wajahat says it's annual. Thanks, Wajahat, for that. Where is Mecca? Okay, Mecca, Medina, all of these influential places and spiritual places of Muslims is located in the Middle Eastern parts, right? So, in the Middle Eastern, in present day modern world, they are located there. Okay, Wajahat has a point. He says, according to the hadiths, if you have power to visit Hajj, you can visit once, but if not, then we have to fast. Yeah, again, fair point, Wajahat, because all of these at the end of the day boil down to logistical problems or financial problems, right? I get it. You're a Muslim living in at least, say, let's India or even like Japan or Korea. It's difficult to travel from all of these places every once in a year to Mecca and Medina because they're far away. And not just time constraint, but you might not have so much money to travel, like financial constraints, right? So in that scenario, Hadith actually says that it's okay if you're not able to travel, if you're not able to make it for some reason, at least fast in those days, right? So that's what Wajahid is trying to tell, I guess. uh, Mecca is in the center of the world, is it so? Again, Wajahid, see, again, it's a belief, right? But if you geographically locate it on a map, I don't think so. Like, if you look at the geographical position, Middle East is not the center of the earth, right? Like, just take a world map, then locate Mecca and Medina. I don't think it's exactly in the center. But again, as the Muslim traditions or Muslim beliefs says, Muslim people believe that Mecca is the center of the world. Again, people have their own views or their own opinions, right? Again, to a fair point, they can also be right. They will prove their statement by giving a certain sort of evidence, by shifting the world map or drawing their own maps, right? Because this map that we are using right now is done by a Western cartographer. But if somebody else designs the map in a different way, then Mecca can be in the center of the world, right? So it all depends on from which perspective you're looking at the geographical location and like what belief you have, right? So that's the answer, Wajahad. Again, Hina, we don't have like rigid rules per se, right? See, again, they'll advise fasting, but again, if you have any health conditions or like health problems, then you can't do fasting all day, right? So as much as possible, at least put in effort to show your devotion to Allah, right? That's the underlying point all of these pilgrimages, fasting, namaz and all of that stuff, they're not rigid. Obviously there are flexibilities. If you don't want, you can stop doing them, right? But at least these are the ways in which you show that you love Allah, or like you are devoted to Allah, right? There are no rigid rules. You can be very flexible with them, right? Okay, it's not a belief but an assumption. Again, in the academic world, there's a whole lot of theory by the Islamic scholars that regarding this Mecca being the center of the universe, center of the earth, right? So yeah, you're right there, Wajahat. Yeah, absolutely right. If you're sick, you're exempted from fasting according to hadiths. Right. Okay, so from there, we'll quickly move on to the next slide. So these universal features, right? The 5 pillars of faith we just talked about, they often differ when it comes to Shia and Sunni traditions, right? Like, differ as in not totally, but like the way in which they practice these 5 things, right? Because Shia and Sunni are 2 different sects. They differ among certain lines. So the way they're actually practicing these 5 pillars of faith is the difference between Shias and Sunnis, right? And also sometimes when people are settling in different parts of the world, then there is high possibility that these 5 pillars often merge with the local traditions or like local beliefs, right? And the local way of worshipping, and then they acquire a new form, they acquire a modified form. The underlying basic structure is the same, right? But the way you do it is sometimes might be different because of difference in Shias and Sunnis, or because of them settling in different parts of the world, right? So that's the first point here. We'll just look at one example, right, for you to understand it in a better sense. So for example, Khojas are like a sub branch of Muslims, right? There are so many sub branches of Muslims, all of them are not one. Just like we have Vaishnavism, Shaivism and all of that in Hindus, we have so many different sub branches in Islam traditions as well. So Khojas is one such sub branch. And what did they do, right? They developed new modes of communication. Yeah, communication is nothing but spreading the message of Allah. Yeah, what are these new modes? Usually Muslim people have their own way of spreading the message, but what did Khojas do were they actually adopted indigenous literary genre to spread the message of Quran, right? Indigenous literary genres are specific to that particular local place. Yeah, for example, poems, right? You convert this message of Quran into a poem, right? And then you sing that poem wherever you go, and that is how you spread the message of Allah, right? So basically the underlying point being you have to spread the message of Allah whoever you are, but the way you're doing it is by adopting some local means, right? So that's the difference between sorry, that's what I mean by differences according to the local customary practices, right? Again, elsewhere, it's not just in terms of spreading the message of Allah, but these Arab Muslim traders whose language officially is supposed to be Arabic because they are from Arabia, right? But once they settled down along the Malabar coast in Kerala and all, for their own economic purposes, for their own trading and stuff, yeah, so for some reason they had to settle down in Kerala, and eventually they didn't know how to speak Arabic. Like as centuries passed by, they forgot Arabic and they adopted Malayalam, which is the local language of Kerala, as their own native language, right? So that is also merging with the local traditions. So these type of things usually happen when people are located abroad, located in different places of the world, right? Okay, any questions till here, guys? Questions pertaining to this slide, let me know. again, Hina, it's not who are Hadiths, it's not a person, it's what are Hadith, let's say. Yeah. So, as Wajahat says, you can read Wajahat's points, whatever he mentioned is right. But I'll just give you a detailed explanation of what Hadiths are in the next couple of slides. Just hold on till then. Yeah. Okay, if there are no questions with this slide, Shiaism are basically politically created sect rather than religious. Um, Again, Wajahat, I would say if you go and make this statement in front of Shia people, right? Obviously, they'll deny it. Yeah, they're like, no, we are purely based on religious means, but not on political means. That's what Shiaism stand will be, like Shiite stand will be, right? But if you go and ask Sunnis, because they're rivals, they want to say something bad or something critical about Shias, and therefore they might say they are formed because of political reasons. But again, at the end of the day, it's what you believe in, right? But the real context of what actually happened is back in the late 7th century, when Ali was the fourth caliph, right? There were like some sort of conflicts happening between various descendants of Prophet Muhammad because they wanted to become the caliph, right? So that is why there was a shift after Ali into two different groups called as Sunni and Shias. But like again, if you like rationally think about it, it is because of political reasons. It is because these two different sects wanted to hold power over the Islamic world, right? So in that sense, it's not just Shiites, but also Sunnis were also wanting to gain that political power. That is why they split, right, in the first place. So they started off as political differences under the disguise of religious reasons, right? So I would rather put it in that way. Political reasons, but under the disguise of religious factors, right? So, yeah. Okay. Smita is here back with us. Good morning, Smita. I mean, everything said in history, isn't it political as far as most of it is concerned? At least I feel everything that happened is history, or everything that at least we learn in history, it's because of how our textbooks are designed, how our syllabus is designed, and all that stuff. To majority of the extent, we do learn about everything that's political only. Yeah, because that's the information we know. Again, it's not historians fault, it's not scholars fault, it's mostly the history we know. We don't know much about economic history or cultural history, right? We mostly focus on political history, and therefore everything at some point of time seems political to us. Yeah, again, these are huge debates going on in the academic world. Let's not go there, it's a huge topic, right? Okay. So the last point we were talking about is people settling in Kerala along the Malabar coast, adopting Malayalam as their local language instead of Arabic, right? So that's another example of local customary practices. And the next one is usually in Kerala there is a matriarchal structure, which means that mother is the head of the family instead of the father, and everything is a female run society, unlike the rest of India, right? So these Arab traders also started adopting matrilineal and matrilocal residence, right? Matrilineal is nothing but the lineage from mother to daughter to granddaughter, right? Matrilocal is a practice where once you get married, you don't have to go to your husband's house, but the husband only will come and stay in the wife's house, right, along with their children. So that's a matrilocal residence, right? So these sort of traditions are also followed by Arab traders who settled in Malabar coast, right? So this what are we seeing here? Like, these are examples of a blend or a merge between universal faith. Yeah, what are the conventional notions of Islam, which is called as universal faith? They are merging with the local customary traditions. So we've seen all of these examples till now. Now we look at examples in the architectural styles of the mosques, because they're very, very evident or exemplified in the architecture. This sort of blend between universal faith and local traditions, right? So again, like, what is it about architectural mosques? Usually there's a conventional notion that whenever mosques are being built, they have to be oriented towards Mecca, right? Or they at least have to like face Mecca, right? Which is evident in the placement of the mihrab and minbar. Again, mihrab is the place where you actually like kneel and pray, which is a prayer niche, and minbar is a pulpit where the head of the mosque stands and delivers his speech, right? So these two places are at least facing the direction of the Mecca, because that's what the traditional Islamic notion says. That is there, that is evidently followed in every mosque in any part of the world, because that's one of the great features, right? But what is the difference in the construction of mosques in the local places? There are two different, there can be many, but now let's just talk about two differences, right? Number one is the way in which the roofs are constructed. Again, traditionally it is known that the roof of the mosques are supposed to be dome, like semi-arcs or dome-like structures, just like we have for most of the famous mosques, right? But again, if you observe some examples from your textbook or some examples from India, especially in Kerala, you don't have dome-like roofs. Instead, you have normally how we have the roofs for our houses, like flat roofs, right? We have flat roofs for mosques as well. So that's a difference, that's a variation, because they are trying to adopt the local customs. Yeah. And number two is in the difference in the various kinds of materials which we use to build the mosque. Again, usually sandstone, limestone, all of these are used. But again, there's an example in your textbook. Absolutely right, Wajahat. It's Dome of Rock, Jerusalem, right? That's the example in your textbook, which shows that it's not sandstone and stuff, but in fact, I think marble was used to construct Dome of Rock, right? So as you move from one place to another, the way in which the roofs are constructed and also the materials used to construct these mosques differ from one place to another, but the basic features such as facing towards Mecca or like orienting your mihrab and minbar towards Mecca remains the same throughout the world, right? So that's the basic blend of universal faith with local traditions, right? So any questions still here? You're right, mihrab is basically where the imam leads prayers, right? Okay, Wajahat says no, ma'am. Okay, thanks for responding, Wajahat. Okay, so if that's clear, then we can move on to talk about the names of communities, right? Not too important in terms of your exams, but we'll just like roughly go through it in a couple of minutes, right? So the words like Hindu and Muslim, right? They are often taken for granted. Like everywhere in our day-to-day use, we randomly use the words Hindu and Muslim anywhere we want, right? We often use these as labels for religious communities, right? But honestly speaking, these terms are often relatively newer terms. They just gained currency in like what, like 18th, 19th centuries. Before that, nobody even knew what the term Hindu and Muslims were, right? So again, looking at the historical records, Historians who have studied Sanskrit texts and inscriptions, yeah, dating back to around 8th and 14th centuries, they have read like n number of books, but they have never come across these terms such as Musalman or Muslim, right? They were never used, and honestly speaking, right? Then there has to be some label given to these people who follow Islamic traditions, if not Muslims, right? What is that label? How are they basically referred to as or addressed as, right? So they were identified in terms of the region from which they came. That's the hack here. Again, we'll look at a couple of examples here. For example, people who were coming from Turkish land, like Turk land, they were basically designated as Turushka. Yeah, in the same manner, people coming from Tajikistan are called as Tajika, and people coming from Persia into the Indian subcontinent, they were called as Parashika. Right? So they're not called as Muslims. In fact, these different names were used in place of Muslims, right? Because Muslims is relatively a newer word, right? So these terms were basically used for people who are coming into the Indian subcontinent as new migrants, right? So again, like a couple of other examples, Turks and Afghans were sometimes also referred to as Shakas, right? You have seen this example in chapter 2 and 3. And Yavanas on the other side is a term given to Greeks, right? Different names. We don't have, see, the underlying point is we are not using Hindu and Muslim words. The mere words of Hindu and Muslim were not in use. In place of that, all of these different terms, Shakas, Yavanas, Parashar, like all of these different terms are used, right? And more generally speaking, there is one term which is called as Mlecha. Very important, guys, remember this. Yeah, it's Mlecha, which is a very general term given to any migrant communities. Like if you're not an Indian or if you don't hail from the Indian landmass originally, anybody external to Indian subcontinent, they're often given a term called as Mlecha by the Indian people, right? And why? Why is that so? Solely on the basis that they can't be included into the fourfold caste structure which is a part of the Indian society, right? You can't categorize them into four of these structures because they're not Indians. We don't know what their origins are. That is why you can't categorize into the caste system. And secondly, because they don't speak the Indian languages. Basically, the language is derived from Sanskrit. They speak all this Arab, Turkish, Persian, and all of those different languages. So, based on these features, any foreigner entering India, they were given a general name called as Mlechas, right? Again, sometimes it's a derogatory connotation. That's what the historians debate. But nonetheless, these terms were never used to actually denote the Hindu and Muslim populations, right? The same thing goes with Hindus also. Hindu term was also not there, yeah, but it is widely used nowadays, right? So yeah, any questions till here? Okay, Faizan, good evening, good morning, Faizan. Faizan, unfortunately, these sessions are going to be only in English. Yeah, because I don't know much of Hindi to talk in Hindi in the first place. So yeah, I'm sorry. It's going to be only in English, Faizan. Okay. Yes, exactly. The word regional identity is very, very important in your point, Wajahat. That's regional identity is basically what the places they are coming from or the places they hail from, right? So you're absolutely right there. Okay, thanks Faizan for understanding. Um, cool. So nextly we'll talk about the growth of Sufism. One topic which where most of y'all get stuck, right? Because of this Sufism itself, most of y'all don't like this chapter, I would say, or like at least think that this chapter is difficult. Let's break it down, right? Let's somehow make this interesting and like understand it in a better manner, because I don't think after this we'll be doing another short of revision for Bhakti-Sufi traditions. So just now only, if you all have any questions at any point of time, feel free to stop me and then we can talk about it in detail, right? So because Sufism as a topic is very, very important for your term 1 boards as well. So please pay attention there. Okay, again, we look at what the definitions of the term Sufism are and like what Sufism is in general in the next coming slides. But like, how did Sufism come up in the first place? Right? Everything was going well, like Muslims were there right from 7th century. But what is something new or different about Sufism, even though it is related to the Muslim world or it's related to Allah? Right? So in the early centuries of Islam, right, in the 9th 10th centuries, a group of religious minded people called as Sufis, right? See, you have to understand the point here. The point is to basically worship Allah. Muslims are doing that, Sufis are doing that. But what is the difference? Right? So, actual Muslims, while they are worshipping Allah, they have been concentrating more or giving more importance to materialistic terms, right? So, Sufi people did not like the religion being materialistic. That is why they came up with a new way of worshipping, which is asceticism and mysticism, which is an extreme way of worship, right? Totally dedicate yourself to God, just worship Him with your whole heart. Yeah, your genuinity, your worship is what matters the most instead of all of these material benefits. That's what the Sufi people say. So, even though the underlying point is the same, where they have to worship Allah at the end of the day, but the way by which or the means by which they are worshipping Allah is different, right? So, that's the basic difference between the normal Muslim people and Sufis, right? So, yeah. Any questions as to like what is the difference between Muslims and Sufis? Get this point clear here itself, because going forward it'll be easier to understand other topics, right? So if you'll have any questions, let me know. Okay. Cool. So again, like what were they against or what did they support? So basically, Sufi people, they were critical of the dogmatic definitions and scholastic modes of interpreting, right? So again, there's like there's a structured way of worshipping. There are so many rules and regulations which are sometimes rigid, followed by the normal Muslim people. So all of these rigid rules, dogmatic definitions, interpretations by theologians, so all of these were not liked by Sufis, and that is why they established their own means of worshipping God, right? So they denied all this. They were critical of all this. They criticized all of these stuff. Then what do they believe in, or what do they support, right? The one underlying point again is they laid emphasis on seeking salvation. Salvation, as we know, is moksha, right? To understand better, I'm using a Hindi version of the word, or Sanskritized version of the word, which is moksha, right? So one has to like ultimately attain salvation after death. So the way you can actually attain salvation is by intense devotion and love for God, by following His commands. Just say whatever, just do whatever he's saying, right? You don't have to do anything extra, you don't have to be materialistic. Just believe in God, worship God wholeheartedly, and show your love to God, which is an intense kind of love. Just do that, you'll be fine, you'll attain salvation. You don't have to do all of these extra stuff. Yeah, that's what the Sufi people say. And they also say that if you don't know what God wants and if you don't know what God doesn't want, just look at Prophet Muhammad. He's a great example, right? Just design your life or tailor your life just on the basis of how Prophet Muhammad lived, right? Then you'll understand what's right and what's wrong, what's needed by Allah and what's not needed by Allah, right? So that's the basic principle on which Sufism runs, right? And based on their own personal experiences, they want to interpret Quran, but not on all of these theological definitions, right? So that's another point. Okay, Mahima, to answer your question regarding the mentee quiz, see, I'm fairly assuming this chapter would take 2 more sessions, right? Again, I'm not sure. It goes on how how many topics we are covering in each revision class. So I'm assuming it will take 2 more sessions, not this one. So in that case, after the sessions are over, right, then we'll have a mentee quiz for this particular chapter. So that will take 3 more sessions, Mahima, roughly. Yeah, but like no worries, I'll inform you in the previous class itself that on so and so particular date we'll be having a quiz on this chapter. Y'all will have time to prepare, so chillax, don't worry about that. Okay, Faizan, this is 12th history only. We have this chapter called Bhakti-Sufi traditions, where we talk a lot of Islam and Bhakti-Sufi traditions, right? I am explaining chapter class 12 ka syllabus. So, yeah. Okay, if there are no questions from this slide, then we can move on to talk about the next. Faizan, we've already dealt with Bhakti in the last 2 classes, so I think you missed that revision. Just please go back after this whenever you have time and look at the videos, right? Because only after we finish Sufism, then I have to have a quiz and move on to the next chapter to revise them as well. So the Bhakti revision will not happen anytime soon now, Faizan. Okay, Raviraj says what will be the revision strategy? Again, like as I was discussing in the last class also, Raviraj, see, we started off the revision with first chapter, which is bricks, beads and bones. But we did like a one-shot revision for that chapter. If you were there, you'll remember that we did a one-shot revision, right? See, firstly, we were talking for around like 1 hour 20 minutes or 1 hour 30 minutes at a long stretch, and I didn't think it was quite effective because grasping the whole of chapter in 1.5 hour session is too much. It's taxing for me, it's taxing for you as well, because you will miss out on so many important things, right? So I thought that one shot strategy was not working. Yeah, therefore I am doing revisions at a quicker pace than the normal chapters which we did. For example, let's say the second chapter is Kings, Farmers and Towns. The original chapter we've discussed in like what, 7 classes or something, but the revision we got done in like 4 classes, I guess. Yeah, so randomly just taking 3-4 sessions to finish one chapter is the strategy I have right now. But if that doesn't work for you, that it's totally fine. Y'all can suggest me any other strategies you have. We can do like a 2-day thing, or you want me to go like even slower, we can do that also. So it's totally up to you. You can suggest me what strategies you want, Raviraj, or like anybody else, right? If this is not working for you, you all can tell which one you want, right? Then we can go according to that. No, Faizan, I'm not a Tamilian. Okay, just let me know what you think of this, Raviraj, by the way. Okay, I'll quickly talk about the next slide. So it's titled as Kankas and Silsilas. These are like two different Arabic terms, but like what do they mean? What are Kankas and what are Silsilas? Right? So by the 11th century, Sufism evolved into a well-developed movement with a body of literature. See, Sufism developed back in 9th century itself, right? But it's not that widespread, or it did not evolve properly, right? But by 11th, Sufism has established itself into a proper, well structured institution, right? It also has literature now, Sufi literature. It has Sufi Quranic studies. It has its own practices and beliefs, right? So when you have all of these features, you can like proudly say that, okay, fine, like Sufism is evolved to the larger extent, right? So that happened only in the 11th century. And institutionally, right, the Sufis began to organize communities around the hospice or kanka. Again, see, in order for you to discuss anything, or to hold all of these social gatherings and all, it is important that there's a particular place where you gather. You can't like go to anybody's house randomly and have discussions there. It's not appropriate, right? So there needs to be like one social place where people can gather and discuss about various things, be it religious issues as well, right? How the prayers should be conducted, at what day should the festivals be celebrated, all of these like rules, right? So in order to discuss them, they need a place, and this place back in the Sufi times were called as kankas, right? If you translate it into English, they're called as hospices, right? So these kankas are the places where people gather to talk, to organize various meetings, right? And there needs to be a head, otherwise everything will be chaos, right? So the head of this kanka was a sheikh, or a pir, or a murshid, right? Sheikh is an Arabic term, pir or a murshid is a Persian term. Again, roughly translating into English, it's basically the head of the silsila. Sorry, head of the kanka. Yeah? So it's head of the kanka, or like person who is in charge of taking care of the kanka. Right? So, yeah. Faizan has a question. Who introduces the Sufism in India? Okay, good question, but like a broader question, Faizan. There's no one particular silsila or one particular person who introduced Sufism into India. It's in fact a combination of so many things. Yeah, right from the 9th, 10th centuries, Sufis have been entering India, right? Sufis have been entering India. They have been carving a niche for themselves in different parts of the Indian subcontinent, and they have been trying to spread the word of Sufism. But most of them were not successful, because why will people listen to them unless they don't have power, right? So that's been happening. So it's not just one particular sect or a person, but a group of people whom we call as silsilas, whom we'll look at in the next slides, right? They came into India, they slowly started spreading the word. Yeah, so that's been happening. We'll talk about that in the next slides, so just hold on to that. Okay, Ayushi is here. Oh, that's good to know, Ayushi, that you performed well. Congratulations on that. Okay, don't worry, we'll do the map in one of the classes, right? So we'll talk about this tomorrow when the class 11 lecture is going on, right? But anyways, that's a good job done. Congratulations on that. Cool. So we were talking about Faizan. I wouldn't say so because Quaza Moinuddin Chishti is from the Chishti Silsila, right? He only entered India, or at least he was born like randomly anywhere in the world, only in the 13th, 14th centuries. But before that, also, we had so many silsilas, we had so many Sufi saints and all. So he's not the first one to introduce the Sufi way of life in India. There were so many people before him. So I would say no to that. Um but again, there is some importance of Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti because he's the most famous of all the Chishti saints in India. Right? So in that sense, he's famous. But I wouldn't say he's the first one. Yeah? Okay. So there was this one head of the Kanka known as Sheikh or Peer, right? Because he's a mentor like figure, he needs mentees as well, right? Because he's a master, he needs students as well. Yeah. So he enrolled all of these disciples, right? Disciples are called as murids in Persian, right? That's why we often call it as a peer murid relationship, which is a master disciple relationship, right? So he enrolled disciples and also appointed a successor. Once the head of the Kanka dies, right? Once the sheikh dies, who will look after the Kanka? There needs to be some successor, right? So before dying itself, he'll appoint another successor saying, like, after I die, you're supposed to take care of this. Okay? They are called as Khalifas. So that's how the Kankas used to be run. And he establishes rules for spiritual conduct and interaction between inmates as well as between lay persons and the masters, right? All of the rules and regulations, he is in charge. If anything is going wrong, he needs to take care. If anything, if there's some sort of conflict between the inmates or other people, he needs to solve these because he is the head, right? So these are all some of his duties. And now coming to actually when these silsilas got crystallized. Again, what is silsila? In rough English terms, silsila is an order. It's a Sufi order. We'll look at what Sufi orders are in the next slide. But for now, remember that these Sufi silsilas began to crystallize themselves in different parts of the Islamic world only in the 12th century, not before that. Yeah, silsilas started consolidating themselves only in the 12th century, right? Okay, any questions still there? Please let me know. Yeah, Faizan, your second point is absolutely right regarding Muhammad bin Qasim entering India as some sort of governor, right, for an Arab kingdom and conquering the northwestern parts of the Indian subcontinent. So yeah, Muhammad bin Qasim was the first Muslim to enter India. But before that also, so many traders have been visiting the west coast of the Indian subcontinent even before Muhammad bin Qasim, right? So you're right there. Before that, traders were doing trade with the western coast of India. Aditya, I'm really sorry. I had an emergency yesterday, so I couldn't take the class yesterday, which was actually scheduled. But I'm sorry for that. But I promise from Tuesday, we will start term 2 ka syllabus because we don't have anything else to do. We are done with term 1 syllabus. So pretty sure from Tuesday, we will be starting term 2 ka syllabus. I'm sorry that I didn't take a class yesterday. I had some personal reasons, emergency situations, right? So Yeah, we'll do it on Tuesday, Aditya. Monday you all don't have a class, Aditya. 11th standards usually have a class on Tuesday, right? Monday is for 12th standard. So I'm afraid it's a no, Aditya. Okay, fair enough. Cool. So I'll just quickly run through this slide. It's important, please pay attention. Yeah. Again, what is silsila, right? Silsila literally means a chain when translated into English, right? But what is this chain or what is this connection? So starting from Prophet Muhammad, right? There has been successors, different successors to his position, right? So from there, establishing a connection to the present master of the Kamka. Yeah, there's a certain genealogy going back right from the Kanka master to Prophet Muhammad. It always goes backwards, right? This silsila chain always goes backwards in time. So starting from the master, which is the head of the Kanka, his master, then his master, then his master, like that, the whole relationship has to be traced back till Prophet Muhammad, who lived in 7th century. So if you have a certain order or a certain connection without any broken linkages, then you call that a certain order, a certain chain, also called as silsila in Persian terms. Right? So just to keep it in one word, silsila is basically an unbroken spiritual genealogy or unbroken spiritual chain. Right? So please remember, because silsila is very, very important. Right? It's an unbroken spiritual genealogy. Yeah? Faizan, I'm sorry, you have to translate that statement into English. I didn't understand. Okay, Nematullah is back. Good morning, Nematullah. Ujjwal is here. Good morning, Ujjwal. Okay. So this channel, right? We're talking about the unbroken spiritual channel. So it is through this channel that spiritual powers and blessings were transmitted to devotees. It's a belief again, right? If there's an unbroken genealogy, it is often believed that Prophet Muhammad would give his blessings and also his spiritual powers. Yeah, it just passes on from one master to the another, and then finally it's transmitted to the devotees, right? That's what they believe in. And yeah, like, once, to prove their allegiance or to show their loyalty to this particular silsila, often the members of the silsila did certain things, right? For example, taking that official oath of allegiance, yeah, promising on something that they would stay loyal to the silsila, or they usually used to wear some sort of parched garment, some sort of cloth on their body, right? And they also used to shave their head. These are certain things that they did to show that they will be loyal to that silsila. And we are all humans. At some point of time we'll die. So in the same manner, Sheikh also died at some point, right? Then there was a tomb shrine built for him. We call that as dargah. This is a very famous term in India, not just in India but in external parts of the world as well. We have so many dargahs across the world. Dargah is basically a tombstone of the Sheikh, right? People often go and visit them and worship the dargahs. That's the way in which you show your devotion to that Sheikh, right? So, which means that pilgrimage is developing because everybody wants to go and worship the dargah right now. That in itself contributed to the practice of pilgrimage, right? So usually people visit on the death anniversaries or any other special important functions like marriages or any other special important days in the Sheikh's life. But visitings do happen every day, but huge number of people go and visit especially on the death anniversary, right? So those are dargahs. Um, okay. You can ask Nematullah. You don't need to like ask a permission. Just put down your question. I'll quickly answer it. Yeah. Okay, so you're basically asking, did Sufism come to India in 11th century? Is that your question, Faizan? Okay, if that's your question, I would say yes. Sufism actually did enter India in the 11th century itself, but on the flip side, it did not gain a lot of importance, or it was not widespread. It was just locally acclaimed or locally known. But as decades passed by, probably in towards the end of 12th and early 13th century, Sufism in India actually got consolidated because people started actually believing in Sufi principles. Right? So I would say yes to your question, but I would have a different explanation to it. Right? Okay, if that is not your question, then let me know what your question is. But yeah. Okay, Nematullah, keep typing down your question. I'll probably finish the slide and then I'll look at your question. Yeah? Cool. So people usually visit the dargahs on the death anniversaries especially, right? But why? Like deaths usually are supposed to be a inauspicious thing according to the art traditions, right? But why did people go in huge numbers to visit dargahs, especially on the death anniversaries, right? Because they believe that once the Sufi saint dies, yeah, he becomes united with God, which is again a auspicious thing, right? He will be much closer to God because he will go and unite with God, right? So that's a good thing for Muslims, yeah, or followers of these saints. That is why they go and visit dargah on the death anniversaries. And people usually seek blessings to attain material and spiritual benefits while they are going and praying in front of the dargah, right? So thus evolved the cult of the sheikh revered as Wali. Again, there's a certain cult which is evolving, there's a certain cult which is developing, right? Where the sheikh is being referred to as Wali, right? But what is a Wali? We'll look at what a Wali is in the next slide. So Wali, it's basically a plural for Auliya. Yeah. But what does that mean? It means that Wali is a friend of God. Now because the Sufi saint is dead, he is united with God, he is much close to God, which means he's a friend of God. Right? So that's the basic explanation given to who a Wali is or who an Awliya is. Right? So he's in close proximity to Allah. Yeah? He is acquiring his grace, number one. And in turn, he's doing all of these miracles. Right? So that's Wali. We okay. Okay. Thanks for the information, Faizan. Guys, if anybody wants to know when the first Sufi came into India, just look at Faizan's comment. It'll be clear. Yeah. Okay. His tomb is apparently in Baghdad in Iraq. Fair enough. Okay. Tanishq is here. Hi, Tanishq. When will I take Menti for term 1? Oh, acha, term 1, the whole of syllabus. Uh, I don't know. You guys tell me. I don't have like a plan as of now. Y'all can suggest me when we can have like a term 1 Menti. I was thinking we could have one right before the exam, but before that I haven't planned any Tanish. But if y'all all of y'all want a term 1 syllabus Menti, then we can do one anytime we want, right? Okay, Sujal is here. Hi, Sujal. Faizan, you're right. People go for like mind relaxation and soul relaxation, but the main purpose why they go is to worship the sheikh, right? To offer their prayers and to worship, and also to seek blessings that they have to be spiritually and materially benefited. That is the main purpose, right? But they also get soul and mind relaxation as a consequence. In turn, they will have this relaxation and satisfaction, right? The sole purpose is not for relaxation. Yeah, so that's like a consequence of seeking blessings. Okay, Nematullah has a question. Where did Sufi movement originally originate? Delhi, Kabul, Lahore, Persia. Uh, Again, I'm not pretty sure about this answer, but I can let you know in the next class after checking out. But as far as I remember reading about it, I think it's Persia, Nematullah, right? So, but again, I have to check. So please give me like some time. I will check and get back to you in the next class. I'll remember this. Yeah, I'm probably taking a screenshot of this. Okay, I think it's Persia, but I'm not sure. Just hold on to that, Nematullah. I'll get back to you in the next class. Yeah? Even I'm a little bit confused, just like you are. Okay, Faizan says Deep Persia. Okay, fair enough. It's Persia, I guess. But again, I'll check from my side also. So, yeah. Okay, I'm right. Cool. Okay, so to answer Tanishq's suggestion, ma'am, next class maybe. Tanishq, let me just firstly like finish Sufi and Bhakti traditions because most of y'all find this chapter difficult. So I thought once we do the revision for sixth chapter, Bhakti-Sufi traditions, probably then we can have a quiz. Yeah, not in the next class for sure because next class I won't be finishing this chapter. So yeah, it's a good suggestion, Tanish, because as many quizzes are needed for you to have like a proper grip on the term one board patterns. So yeah, definitely we'll do a lot of quizzes. So probably after this chapter is over, we can do one, Tanishq. Okay. Most of the people say Kabul. Again, opinion of the people doesn't matter if there are authentic sources available. So just Google it, yeah, and also I'll go through some other reference books I have some academic books. I'll go through it and I'll let you know in the next class for sure. Yeah. Okay, we just have like one slide to go. We'll finish that up and wind the class. Okay, Nematullah needs a suggestion. Which college is best? Jamia, AMU, JNU. I mean, every college has its own advantages and disadvantages. I mean, I would request. See, I haven't ever gone through the course structures of Jamia and AMU. I've only seen JNU ka structure. For BA, I get it, Nimatullah. But I highly advise you to just talk to somebody if you know somebody from those colleges because they'll know better what's the course structure for BA, right? Like what subjects are involved. is that an honors degree or is that a BA program degree, right? Because honors certificate has more validity and more value when compared to like a normal program certificate, right? So you have to like weigh all of these measures. You have to like first figure out what sort of subjects are available in these colleges and if you like the course structure or not, right? So yeah, just consult people who are already in these colleges or go check out their college university websites. Yeah, but I don't think I have a personal opinion on this honestly, because in order to tell you something, firstly I don't know about those colleges, right? So yeah. No problem, Faizan. You can come and talk to me anytime you want to regarding any questions you have. I'm here. So don't worry about that. And as far as Tanishq's question is concerned, I have graduated from Ashoka University, Tanishq. I'm a fresh graduate. I'm still in my fourth year, in fact. I haven't even like graduated. So yeah, I'm still a part of Ashoka University. It's in Delhi NCR, by the way. Most of y'all keep asking me where this Ashoka is. It's in Delhi NCR. To be very specific, it's in Sonipat. Which subject you've done your graduation? Oh, okay. I have a major in history, and I basically have a double major in history and a political science, and also a minor in IR, international relations. So that's a little bit about my background. Okay, like just hold on your questions just for another 2 minutes, because within 2 minutes I'll finish this slide and then we can have like a general conversation. Yeah, just give me 2 minutes. So lastly, we'll see what's happening outside the Kanka. Till now we've discussed what is happening inside the Kanka, right? So these 4 points will talk about what's happening outside the Kanka, which means are there any criticisms of Kanka, right? So some mystics initiated movements based on a radical interpretation of Sufi ideals. Okay, so now here we have another like third category of Muslims or third category of people who are not normal Muslims, who are not Sufi saints, but these people are basically uh, critical people of Sufi idols. Right? They don't like the Sufi idols. They are criticizing Sufi idols. Right? So there's the third category of people. They have their own means of worshipping God. Right? They in fact did not want to do any of these rituals. Instead, they observed extreme forms of asceticism. When I say extreme, like they basically denounced all these worldly pleasures. Yeah, they don't have any social interactions. 24/7 their only focus is on worshipping God, and that too by using extreme forms. Right? So that's the third category of people. Right? Again, we have a few names for them, few category of people. Kalandars, Madaris, Malangs, Haidaris. These are all people who worship Allah in an extreme form, right? Um, Again, we have two names for it, or two concepts, let's say, called as Be Sharia and Ba Sharia. The spellings are here. It's Be Sharia and Ba Sharia, right? So Be Sharia are people, uh, again, deliberate defiance of the Sharia. They were often referred to as Be Sharia. These are people who are opposing Sharia. Again, as most of us know, Sharia is this Islamic law, right? Like how the people are supposed to act, how the rulers are supposed to govern, like every rule and regulation is mentioned in Sharia. It's basically a law book, right? So people who are actually against this law book, yeah, that philosophy is called as Be Sharia, and people who support this law book are called as Ba Sharia Sufis, right? So that's what was happening outside the Kanka. Yeah, so that's that. There's still a lot to cover, guys. I have made slides for other topics as well, but since we're running out of time, it's already 12:15. I would want to wrap this up. We'll take this up in the next class, the remaining portions. So that basically brings us to the end of today's class. It was a great class interacting with so many of y'all. I had fun. But anyways, last questions regarding what happened today or regarding anything in general, colleges, quizzes, exams, anything. Let's have like a brief conversation for 5 minutes and then we can end the class. Right? Okay. Oh, Faizan, are you asking for international international possibilities for graduate students or undergraduation, like BA level, right? Like bachelor's level? If that is what you're asking, then obviously there are like so many opportunities. But on the flip side, I would say if you want like a quality education for humanities, I wouldn't suggest Australia because Australia, it's famous for sciences and like technology side. It doesn't have that good of humanities education. So if your choices are between Canada and Australia, I would suggest go for Canada. There are so many good colleges like University of British Columbia, McGill, I don't know, like so many other colleges are there, like good colleges. University of Toronto. You can check them out and their course structures. They are like great colleges, Faizan. Is it worth for international students? Again, see, you obviously have an upper hand if you are getting a international degree. So yeah, it is worth it, I guess. Okay, I'm pleased to hear that, Nematullah. Thanks so much. That's very sweet of you. Uh, yeah, thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. Guys, like anybody else also, like I'm very approachable, right? So like if you have any questions, anything related to any sort of your life, just we can have a conversation, we can talk about it. Yeah? So feel free to come and talk. Tanishq wants to go into DU, but it's very tough. I wouldn't say tough, Tanishq. I mean, I get it. There are so many reservations and all that stuff. If you're from general category, you might find it difficult to enter any of these top colleges from DU, especially like the top five, right? But again, it all depends on your 12th boards, right? So just ace your 12th boards and that is it. You have your shot into the DU colleges because they don't have any interviews or they don't have any entrance exams or nothing of that sort. It's justly your 12th boards, right? Just your 12th board exams. So focus on that, ace your 12th boards, and then I don't think it must be too difficult. You can easily do it, Tanish. Other people are doing it, therefore you can do it. So chillax. Which courses can you pursue in Canada? Again, see, there's every course being offered in different colleges, right? In Canada as well. But everything boils down to one point, which is what are you interested in? Right? Faizan, what are you interested in? You first figure out that. Okay? Do you like history? Do you like international relations? Do you like geography? Do you like anything else? Or you don't even like humanities at all? Yeah, so like first you figure out for yourself which subject you are interested in, right? And then you can make a way out of it, because without knowing what you're interested in, there's no point in searching for all of these university websites, right? So make have a clear viewpoint as to what you're interested in, then search for the college university websites. Then if you think that the course structure is something that interests you, then go ahead with it. Yeah, that would be my suggestion, Faizan. Yes, Tanishq, you're absolutely right. Cutoffs are very high for DU. I don't know what's happened to DU this year, but like I was randomly looking at the cutoff lists, and one cutoff list said 100%. I was like, how on earth are people going to score 100% in their boards? It's tough, but like you have to somehow. It's competitive world outside. So again, it's kind of easier for y'all to score full because now it's not descriptive pattern anymore. It's just objective, right? So just make sure you score as much as possible in your boards, and then yeah, that'll be an easy way out. Okay, so that's that. Any other questions, or should we wind up the class? uh, Faizan, the same point I was making earlier also, right? See, every course is best. Honestly speaking, every course is best because every course in these good colleges have reputed faculty. Yeah, they have all of these good course structures. So at the end of the day, one point which boil like all of this boils down to one point, which is which course you are interested in. Yeah, every course is best to be very honest, right? So figure out what you want for yourself and then dive into the pool. Uh, Again, Nematullah, see, it's the same suggestion which I give for other people also regarding history. That history as a discipline is a little bit dry, yeah, but that is when you're trying to like memorize so much stuff. Instead of memorizing all of this, just focus on what you want to like grasp the concepts out of it, right? It's basically a story. Like honestly speaking, it's a story. And again, one feature which effectively worked for me is if you don't want to read, just listen to it. There are shit ton of YouTube videos, like random videos available to you on different platforms, right? So listening is an effective strategy because it's a story, right? You can just randomly listen to it while doing your own work. You can play and listen to it, you can do something else and listen to these videos. So listening is one good effective strategy, so try that. I have tried it myself, it is very effective. So if you don't want to read and if you're getting bored by reading, probably try listening to the videos, Nehmatullah. You're interested in food making and truck driving. Faizan, do a hotel management course then. Tanish, don't worry, term 2 is still far away. And like honestly speaking, for some reason I feel term 2 syllabus is much easier when compared to term 1 syllabus. So we will definitely complete it in 2 months. Don't worry, you will also have ample time to revise for all the quizzes. You will ace both your term 1s and term 2. Don't worry, Tanishq. I'm here to figure out stuff with along with you. So chill. Not really, Nematullah. In fact, I was very interested in history as a discipline right from my childhood. So, reading history was never a problem for me. In fact, I liked it. So, yeah, nothing much. Okay, so if that is it, we can probably wind up the session. Uh, just give me 2 minutes, guys. I'll quickly wind this up. Oh god, we've skipped so many slides. Anyways, so there's a humanities crash course happening which already started on 1st of November. It's already been like 2 weeks, but there's still 1 month time. you can still join it. It's not too late. It's basically a 1.5 month crash course, and the medium of delivery here is English. And the educators you can see on the screen here, they are going to conduct this crash course. So if you're interested, go join it. The link for that is in the description below, right? And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining me in large numbers and interacting so much on Sunday morning. I know it's difficult, I know it's a weekend, but nonetheless, term one's boards are coming, so we have to study. Yeah, thanks so much again. And if you like the content of these videos, please do like it, share it as much as possible, and also subscribe to the channel Unacademy and Scholars in particular. Thanks once again. So the next class we'll be having is tomorrow, right? Which is a Monday at 6 p.m. Basically, it's an evening session, right? Okay. Tanishq says, how much did I score? I scored like a 97 point something, but then I didn't want to go to DU, so like my 12th boards didn't matter anyway, Tanishq. Okay, if that is it, we can end the class. It's already 12:30. We're half an hour past time, guys. Okay, then we'll continue this discussion sometime in the next class, right? Probably on Monday's class or something. Faizan, if you keep typing in Hindi, I can't understand, Faizan. Just translate that into English, please. Okay, bye Nematullah. I'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's class. Yeah. Faizan, like, can we like hold this discussion and probably continue it in tomorrow's class, because it's already 12:30. I have a meeting at 12:30, so like I have to rush. So can we do this in tomorrow's class, Faizan? Like tomorrow though I can stay for a longer time. Yeah? So I'm really sorry for that. I have a meeting at 12:30. I have to rush. Okay, so bye guys. I'll see you tomorrow. And also, like, once again, wishing every one of y'all a very happy Children's Day. Yeah. So have fun, have a good weekend. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Yeah. Bye guys.